Hey, this is Sydney, and I am here to talk to you about the time of August 13th through the 19th, 2025. This podcast or video, I guess, is going to be timestamped. So if you want to skip ahead to whatever day that you would like to hear my reflections on, please feel free to do so. The timestamps are inside of the description box. Please consider liking and subscribing to my channel. It doesn't cost you a thing, and it certainly helps me broaden my reach and hopefully my next clients that I can be of service to. I am on other platforms as well. I am on Instagram as the Showgirl Astrologer, Facebook as Sydney Devereaux, which you'll also see like all of my showgirl work and also production work. I do all of these things simultaneously: astrologer, showgirl, and producer of big events. And if you're also interested in hearing a more conversational approach where like I'm talking to another person, my peer Bender and I have a podcast called BS Astrology, and it is available on like all of the streaming audio platforms as well as on YouTube. Just search BS Astrology. It's a little bit longer form. We're pretty mercurial and we like to chat a lot. So if that's kind of your thing, dig in. I really love to get to chat with Bender and hear their perspective about things. And, sometimes we go on tangents, but, it's always good to kind of let the mind flow. That being said, let's get into the week of August 13th through the 19th. August 13th is Wednesday, which is Mercury's day. Mercury is still in Leo, but he is direct and in forward motion. On this day, though, he is still at that degree that he was when he was stationed and everything. So he's still not at his full speed. So we're still, I don't know, I think that we're still kind of experiencing the cleanup portion of what happened during Mercury retrograde for you. I know that there's been a lot, especially in these last couple of days with the station and the station direct. There's been a concentration of like kind of little weird glitches in the matrix around like technology and travel, that sort of thing, communication. So know that we're not quite out of the woods yet. We're out of probably the worst of it. We won't be clear of the shadow, I think, until about the 25th. I should have written that down, but I didn't. So don't quote me on the day. Just know that we're still within the shadow. Perfect. Okay. So a couple of notes that I wanted to say about today in particular, just so it's on video, and I could be wrong, but I think that today, Wednesday, is a pretty poignant and pivotal day for our felon president, for DT, right? And the reason why I say that is because the sun is at a critical fixed degree of 21 degrees Leo. And so the fixed point is like a concentration of energy and like focus. And it makes things the things that kind of come up at this time a little bit more poignant and pivotal. And the sun in mundane astrology is our leaders, our government officials, our kings, our presidents, right? So I think that there's something really important here. And another reason why I think that that is also important is because the felon, I'm going to call him the felon. I don't like saying his name. The felon is in a Mars perfected portion of his chart. If you are familiar with perfections or profections, so what that means is that Mars is activated, and this sun is within 3 degrees, is actually pretty close to that Mars in his chart. And that sun, this pivotal sun, is also trine his moon in South Node, which the moon is the ruler of his 12th house of undoing. So I think that there's some sort of thing that comes up, probably that he even says or instigates, that has the potential to be a part of his undoing. And I really hope that that's true because I really don't like him. Okay. And also the other kind of interesting thing there too is that sun, that fixed transit sun, at that pivotal 21 degrees Leo is in the midpoint between the felon's Pluto and Mars in his chart. So it's just like, it's doing some interesting things. There's some other stuff that's kind of going on with his first house. But I think that there is an important thing. So I thought I would put it on camera. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But, you can't win if you don't play. I think it is what it is. So other things. The moon is going by in spicy Aries, and he has some meanings with Jupiter in Cancer and Venus in Cancer by square. And so I think that there is a opportunity for us to be a little bit too overindulgent in how we feel and what we are willing to do to self-soothe or to want to find some sort of comfort, safety, and security. I think that it kind of is a impulsive kind of thing, especially with these cardinal signs being activated by square. It's going to push us into action to go overboard. Jupiter, right? Or to find pleasure, because they're very, very close together in the sky. They're like this right now. So just a little caution there. That's it. Mid-morning, we're going to get a little semi-square from the moon to Uranus and Gemini. There could be some new little ideas forming, kind of interesting, wondering what that could be, but I don't think it's fully formed yet because it is a semi-square. So it's not quite a like bloom, right? It's just like, hey, it's like a whisper, that kind of thing. 3:54 p.m., we get the moon trine the sun in Leo. It's a disseminating trine, and then we go into a void of course. That moon trine the sun is very, very close and very much hitting the felon's chart. And so there's some information to go forward, this disseminating trine, like, here you go, that I think is really interesting, but also just in our own, charts and activations, moon trine sun is a really lovely flowing energy. With the fire signs being activated, they're passionate, intuitive. This is kind of a quick ease of feeling. And the trine says how I'm feeling, like kind of internally, and how I'm expressing myself are in flow. They are working together to be expressed positively. So I think that it's a great closing aspect, all things considered, before the void, of course. And then in the evening, we're going to get a semi-square from Venus to Uranus in Gemini. And so there could be some little interesting pieces of information around our relationships, around money, around value, around maybe even gender, that are kind of like coming up to almost be worked on, but not yet. So just kind of pay attention to those whispers, because they will be a little bit louder or more of a thing going forward as they form stronger aspects. August 14th is Thursday. Thursday is Jupiter's day. Jupiter is still pretty much happy as a clam in Cancer, still within, about to leave that 3-degree range of Venus's little kiss in the sky with it. So think about Jupiterian things for your Thursday, engaging in higher knowledge, learning, travel, philosophy, having conversations with whatever your version of higher power is. Engaging in just spirituality in general is a good way to kind of honor that Jupiterian thing that's going on. So early, before anybody's really awake, we get the moon conjunct retrograde Chiron in Aries. So there could be some sort of like a deeper intuition or sensitivity, especially that we maybe are kind of like waking up with. Though at 6:21 a.m., the moon is going to enter Taurus, and that void, of course, is going to end. Moon is going to enter the sign of her exaltation, where she is cozy, she is comfy, and even better, this moon in Taurus is ruled by a Venus in Cancer that's very close to Jupiter. So it's all cozy vibes here, right? This is a mutual reception between the moon in Taurus and Venus in Cancer. So they're able to like not only just like witness each other and see each other, they can kind of help each other out. They're really saying, I want to feel safe. I want to feel secure. You know, this is moon in Taurus is engaging in delicious foods and warm soups and, you know, nourishing meals and taking good cat naps. And hopefully it will kind of be a little bit of a balm or an ease, especially since I know so many people are really, really struggling with the heat and climate change in the world right now. And so hopefully there's just like an inner sense of calm or patience here that, especially after the moon being in spicy Aries, now it kind of like cools down a little bit. There's a vibe shift. We get into a more of like a groovy sort of way. However, 10 a.m., around 10 a.m., we're going to get the moon square Pluto. So this is going to, you know, kind of force us to maybe like give up some sort of habit around our comfort, or like we're feeling really, really pressured, really, really intensely about something. Moon square Pluto, moon Pluto contacts usually have some sort of intensity, some criticalness, some obsessiveness, you know, wanting to like hold on to what is comfortable for us or what is safe and secure through like an obsessive, like claw like grip. But we also have to remember that when the moon goes and has any of these interactions with Pluto, what Pluto is really doing is asking for it to eliminate something. Pluto is asking the moon in Taurus to give up something that isn't healthy for whatever it thinks its safety and security is, and probably in order to like benefit all of society, Pluto and Aquarius, right? To really transform society. We're being asked to give up something about our creature comforts in order to transform society. But if we're feeling really intensely really strongly in this morning moment, in this late morning moment, just know that like these moon transits are very fast and they will pass. So try not to have any sort of like emotional outburst of any sort, especially of the controlling nature. I want it my way. I want it my way now is, you know, this also kind of feels like no. Because if there's anything that a Taurus or a Taurian placement likes to do is if it ain't broke, we are not fixing it. Right? And we're just like, no, we're not doing that. And so this could be a really strong feeling of no. We're going to get a quintile to Jupiter that's hopefully going to kind of cool it down. At 2:45 p.m., we get a quincunx 2 from the moon to Mars. And so there is some sort of adjustment in what we are doing or how we're behaving or how we're going forward, how we're taking action. We're having to make some sort of adjustment here around this. And this could also just feel like anger, frustration, moon Mars, right? Some sort of like sudden angry, like outburst in this moment. The interesting thing is that I think it really does have to do with safety and security. It really has to do with like value, money, pleasure, relationship, especially because the moon in Taurus and Mars in Libra are ruled by the same planet that Venus in Cancer. That is called engirdlement. Sounds like a corset. 2:48, so it's right after we get the moon square Mercury. Try not to have any sort of emotional verbal outbursts in this moment. You know, this is like, I need to do something. I need to shout. I need to lash out maybe. And so maybe we don't do that. Maybe we just kind of simmer down. That moon quincunx Mars and moon square Mercury, this is the danger zone of the day, right? Is this like 2:30 through 3-ish, 3:15, I would say 3:10, 3:15 period of time. Danger Will Robinson, let's just be a little bit careful about how we use our energy and how we use our mouths at this time, how we use our tongue, how we talk, how we speak, how we're communicating, how we're lashing out, right? Just simmer, right? We'll get a very cute quintile to Venus, so hopefully we'll cool that things down. So it kind of feels like up, down, right? Kind of that moment. And then at 7:04 p.m., this is kind of the biggest aspect of the day. We get Mercury in Leo sextile Mars in Libra. So this can very much like impassion the voices, right? It can make us a little bit more charming in our speech, I think, or a little bit like more passionate and activated around how we're communicating, how we're thinking. Um, it could potentially bring up some sort of argumental like tendency or wanting to engage in verbal sparring for whatever reason. Some people like that, right? Mercury, Mars, the planet of communication, thinking, right? And Mars, action, anger, intensity are in this harmonious sextile. They're cooperating with each other. So for me, that feels like, yeah, I'm down to argue with you. Are you down to argue with me? And it's all in like love and war, right? It's all fair in love and war, that kind of thing. And it's not like a full sparring, but maybe it's like a teasing kind of energy here. So just be careful how you use that energy, and maybe make it a little bit more in the playful side. And also, just because of what happened earlier, just be a little bit cautious that you don't go overboard in how you're deciding to communicate your ideas. Passion, lovely. Inspiration, great. However, you can sometimes do a little foot and mouth stuff that could happen there, especially when you're speaking, thinking, and communicating really, really fast, really, really passionately and fervently. Okay. August 15th is Friday. Friday is Venus's day. We have Venus in lovely Cancer that has a full-on beautiful reception with its ruler, its lord, that moon in Taurus. So she is feeling mighty, mighty fine. I think for the most part, until we get into the evening, this day feels pretty pleasant. For the major Ptolemaic aspects that we have for the moon, we get a sextile to Jupiter in Cancer very, very early in the morning, 7:14 a.m. So this is like, an ease of feeling and comfort, and feeling generous even. There's Jupiter is like kind of the expansiveness, right? With the moon in Taurus being of comfort and safety and security, instability, certainly. And so we're just like, it's a nice vibe. I know the world is trash, but it's a nice aspect, right? So we're gonna roll with it. We're gonna get some semi-squares from the moon to Saturn and Neptune. They're gonna be so minor, but it's almost like, maybe some sort of, thing around, structures, limits, boundaries and the dream, and like the structures that are dissolving. There's like some sort of awareness that is kind of coming up, and it could feel like a kind of like a, I don't want to say free floating anxiety, but kind of like a, I wonder what's over there. But you really you can't see it quite yet, but like something's coming. Then we get this moon sextile to Venus, right? And this is going to be at 1:16 p.m. This is another lovely aspect. It's like really for the major aspects, the moon sextiles Jupiter, generous, expansive, open, flowing. And then it hits Venus. It's, caring and soft and intuitive and pleasure, right? These are lovely aspects for the day. 3:14 p.m. we're going to get moon trine the south node. And so I'm hoping that this feeling with the sextiles and the sextile to Jupiter and the sextile to Venus, and then we get this trine to the south node, it's like how we're feeling really does kind of allow us to do an ease and like kind of dropping some old stuff from the past. It's just like this facilitating, like feeling safe enough, maybe comfortable enough, good enough to be able to release some old data, maybe some old stories that we've told ourselves with that South Node in Virgo. 5:14 p.m. we're going to get the moon sextile square Mars in Libra. Again, this is a frustrated kind of aspect. It's engirdled. They're both ruled by that Venus in Cancer. And so there's like maybe something that you kind of want to do or you want to take action in, and it's really frustrating. that has to do with Venusian things: love, money, relationship, our essential needs, comfort. What is that other word? Diplomacy, and that kind of generosity of social values, how we relate to one another. So there could be something that kind of comes up that like brings a little bit of a frustrating energy, and that's in the evening. And then we get that last quarter square from the moon to the sun. And so, this is the like, oh, this is what's left to do in this cycle. I got to get to it. I'm frustrated. I have this, this crisis. It's called crisis of consciousness, Rudyard. So it's almost like you just have this like keen, acute awareness about what you still need to achieve in this cycle. So first half of the day, like it. Second half of the day, but use that awareness to kind of say, okay, I know what I need to do, what I need to get done. I've taken stock. Let's try to like wrap it up as, the moon loses its light. Let's try to wrap it up so that we can go forward into the next cycle. And that last quarter square is going to begin the void of course moon. So even though we're aware of what we need to kind of take care of or do, or what's making us feel kind of out of sorts, feeling not super great, we don't get to initiate new action to solve that problem yet. And we do not get to do that until tomorrow after in the morning when the moon goes into Gemini. So just let yourself feel the way that you do about whatever's going on. Maybe try to write some stuff down, maybe have like a poetry moment, a journaling moment, especially with the moon quintile Mercury in the evening. Just be able to kind of like get it out, to just kind of word salad, to just be able to like mind map what's going on for you, so that then you can go, okay, now I'm going to take action the next day. August 16th is Saturday, which also is Saturn's day. Saturn is retrograde in his fall in Aries, hanging out very close to Neptune still, which has just very much been about, the erosion of various structures that really aren't working for anybody's benefit at all. There's lots of things. Everything having to do with martial law, I think, is very much the Saturn and Aries story, or a part of the Saturn Aries story, especially with now it being at the Aries point back at 0 degrees. So yeah, lots of Saturn stories that will be showing themselves to us today and probably in the next few days, as it is very slowly moving. So today the moon goes out of bounds. So out of bounds moons, big feelings, where you would maybe just be, when I think about like the moon in Taurus, because it doesn't go into Gemini until later, I think about like the feeling of tasting like the most perfect soup. But when the moon is out of bounds, you're like, wow, right? It's just more. It's turned up to 11, that out of bounds. It's out of pocket, out of the ordinary reaction, mood, intuition, feeling, that sort of thing. So out of bounds moon for the next couple of days. So just be kind of aware of like our emotional reactions to things, because they could be a little bit out of sorts, and also knowing that for other people and how they react to you too. 9 a.m. we're going to get the moon entering Silly Clown Gemini. I can say that because I have a moon in Gemini, and the void, of course, will end. Moon in Gemini needs data, it needs information, it needs 1,500 tabs open on its phone, computer, any screen, to be able to look up and find whatever piece of floating question that has been floating in one's mind, right? I think of a million questions in a day. I'm a very, very curious person. And so I'm constantly looking up, various things, trying to find all the various sources, going into various rabbit holes. And that is very much what a moon in Gemini enjoys doing. That is how we feel safe and secure is, well, so long as I can be curious and I'm allowed to be curious, then I get to know, and then I feel okay because I get to know. Also has a tendency to intellectualize one's feelings. Not our best, not the best thing, but can be really great in times of trauma. Let me tell you what. Anyways, 10:38 a.m. we get a kind of gauntlet. We start a gauntlet from mid-morning all the way until about the afternoon, 12:30. We get the sextile retrograde Saturn. We get Moon conjunct Uranus. We get Moon sextile retrograde Neptune. We get then our bigger kind of aspect, Venus in Cancer sextile this South Node, and then Moon trine Pluto. So with the Moon doing these contacts, the sextile of the Saturn is like, kind of maybe feeling a little bit more resolved, a little bit more stabilized. Like it's nice to have Saturn in a flowing aspect to a Moon in Gemini. It kind of brings us back down to practicalness, down to earth, instead of kind of shooting off into all of the various ways. So we like that. Then it conjuncts Uranus. So we get this like aha feeling, this intuition hit, this kind of shock to the emotional or intuitive system. A sextile to Neptune can bring the vision into, we're kind of, dealing with the vision. We have new insights. We have kind of a spiritual hit, maybe feeling a bit more creative. And then that Venus in Cancer sextile of the South Node, I think that there is, something here that is being experienced with Venus, right? Money, women, relationships, value, essential needs, the semblance of safety and everything here. Something is coming up that like facilitates the release in that South Node. I'm very interested to and it's also trining the North Node, right? And so I'm hoping, because I can't just say it sextiles the South Node, even though it is going into the South Node. No, it's not. Yes, it is. Joking. That, something around this area or these topics is hopefully pushing us to move forward in a more compassionate way. I think what we're experiencing right now with the whole idea of like protecting our homeland and like protecting women and everything like that is really starting to open the hearts and minds of people saying like, actually, this is like wild and we need to like be really caring for each other. Like that's just kind of my thought about that, but whatever. 12:31 p.m. Moon trine retrograde Pluto. When we get the trine, it allows us to go deeper. It allows us to be a little bit obsessive, especially with Moon in Gemini trine Pluto and Aquarius. This is like the obsession around knowing, the needing to get into the bottom, the nitty gritty, deepest parts of it. Right? This is an ability to emotionally process on a deeper level as well in order to eliminate some old stuff, maybe some old stories we've told ourselves that we've been holding on to emotionally. Moon sextile Mercury, the ability to talk about it, to have, flowing conversations around what we're thinking and what we're feeling. That's going to happen around 7:30. And then 7:47 p.m., we get the Moon trine Mars in Libra. This is just kind of making us a little bit more impassioned, certainly making us a little bit more active. It's a little bit annoying for me to see this aspect in the evening because like we could have really used it during the day. But really, this day feels like really getting some things done. We're really cooking with grease on this day. This is a really great day. Like, do your errands, make your plans with friends, go have your time. Like, do all of the things on this day because she is going to be moving with you. August 17th is Sunday. Sun's day. The sun is still in Leo. He's really starting to wrap up his time. He's got about 4.5 degrees left to get through until we go into Virgo season next week. And we also have this really interesting little antisha that is available to us around right before noon. I would say probably maybe in the 11:30 between the moon and Jupiter. So I think that there's kind of a generosity of feeling here to kind of maybe capture. There aren't a lot of major aspects today. The moon is still very much out of bounds. So I think that also kind of goes with the moon Jupiter antisha for the late morning. There's lots of quintiles between the moon to the sun, retrograde Saturn. There is a biquintile from the sun to retrograde Saturn. I think that this is going to feel very like heady and dreamy and like creative, but not in so much of like the I'm going to get things done sort of way. Like this feels to me when I look at all of these kind of aspects, it feels like you're trying to like dreamscape a new version of what you want. You know, you're really doing all of the like internal moments. And then there's a little bit of frustration with 10:44 a.m. We get the semi-sextile to Jupiter. There's something kind of emerging, maybe with some sort of new philosophy or goal. Ceci square to retrograde Pluto. This could be a very kind of like almost like cringy, frustrating kind of feeling. And then we get Moon and Gemini square the nodes. This is going to be close to 6 p.m. This is an emotional choice point, right? This is a like, I can go this way and embrace compassion, or I can go this way and embrace anxiety. Release something emotionally here so that you can find yourself facilitating, bigger, more loving, compassionate thoughts for yourself and for others. And then we get a semi-sextile to Venus and Mercury, semi-square, semi-sextile, and then a semi-square. So it's like the dream, the visioning, the frustration. Maybe it's like, oh, I can't really get that done. I don't really know how to go forward. Oh, that sucks so hard. And then you kind of get this, okay, but I'm going to make a choice here. I'm going to make a choice about how I want to emotionally go forward. And then there's, okay, this like new value is starting to emerge. And then this like, oh, but I don't really know how to quite talk about it. And then the biggest aspect of the day, that's the flow of the day, right? And then the last aspect of the day that we get is Mercury and Leo sextile Mars and Libra. So we get this sextile that feels like, that's interesting. Yep. Mercury and Leo sextile Mars and Libra, which is, again, it's about fast thinking, the ability to communicate, in impassioned, thoughtful, communicative ways that are, it's like thinking quick on your feet, the ability to do so. I think it's passionate expression, passionate thinking. This is the sort of aspect you would want to have if you're trying to sell somebody a car, or if you're trying to charm the pants off of somebody at a party, right? You think quick, you speak quick, you get them to like have a glass of champagne with you and agree to signing over their house. It feels very conversational and yet a little bit on the danger side. We do have that Mercury and Leo is going to be, that Mars and Libra, just not into it. This can be peace talks, right? This can be having conversations about how we want to go about creating harmony and peace. This feels like there could be an opportunity here to have talks about this if you want them and if you behave correctly. right? So use that for good, for all of your good, instead of for for not. August 18th is Monday. Monday is the moon's day. We have the moon about to, doing the last degrees of Gemini, going to go into Cancer later in the early afternoon, Pacific Standard Time. So this day just kind of feels like there's some flowing energy. We have the moon in Gemini sextile the sun in Leo. This is, an ease of being, the soul and the mood are in cahoots. They're able to kind of work together. There's kind of a playful energy between Leo and Gemini. We like that. I think that is also a disseminating sextile. So it's a nice flowing, conversational, able to kind of get it out kind of sextile. Then we're going to get a biquintile from the moon to Pluto. This can feel like the ability to really hold on to deeper, more intense kind of feelings. There's an intensity here, but it's not bad, right? Not all intensity is bad. We get the moon sextile retrograde Chiron. This can bring more of a sensitivity. So I really do feel like there's some sensitivity happening today. There's the engagement with wisdom and being able to connect and be in empathy with others. 12:05 p.m. the moon enters Cancer. The void, of course, is going to end. So when the moon enters Cancer, she ends up going home, right? She is in the sign of her domicile, of her home. She is very comfortable here. While she was exalted in Taurus, cozy, now she is, in this like feeling space, this intuitive, emotionally sensitive, sensing place, this watery place. And, the emotional attention kind of turns to safety and security of family and of home, right? Moon in Cancer has some rough transits to her. Anytime now when the moon goes into Cancer, especially in the early degrees, because we're going to get those squares to Saturn in Aries and Neptune in Aries, both retrograde. So, and that doesn't necessarily impact the square, right? But the square to Saturn is like an emotional limit, an emotional test, boundary, kind of hitting some sort of wall where you feel kind of maybe depressed or isolated or a bit dejected. This is a harder time expressing one's feelings, maybe having the feeling pressure upon us to not express, instead to kind of hold and bottle things in. We get that square to Neptune. It's feeling disillusioned. It can be feeling confused. It can, be feeling really, really kind of emotionally out of sorts. And I don't want to say quite delusional, but like disillusioned is the right word. And I think there could be a bit of a depressive aspect here too. And then we get a quincunx to retrograde Pluto in Aquarius, which feels like after you hit these squares, which are like, literally forcing you to take some sort of action, even though you feel depressed and you feel dejected and you feel kind of beaten down, you feel like you have a lot on your shoulders, emotionally on your shoulders to like take care of, then you have to make some sort of adjustment here. You have to make some sort of sudden adjustment and probably feeling a little bit anxious about it, having to suddenly change your habit in some sort of way with the quincunx, the moon to Pluto. And the moon to Pluto, quincunx, is like, has a Virgo-ness to it, an anxiety, a like self-immolation, kind of like turning in on it oneself and being like, what did I do wrong? Right? Maybe you couldn't like live up to the standards that you had put on yourself with all of these like challenges kind of being placed upon you, and now you're feeling very self-critical and kind of cringy about it. And really, there just needs to be some sort of adjustment, some emotional adjustment made here in order to like release that. So be easy on yourself. Once we get into that 1 p.m. time, we all, and actually really when the moon enters Cancer, we just kind of need to like try to just go with the flow, do what's in front of us, not to take everything so seriously that we hurt our own feelings, and try not to step into the pure disillusionment of living in America, and just say, okay, I just gotta roll with it. If I need to change, I need to change. If I need to make shifts, if I need to do that, cool, I got this. And know that because the moon is fast, these aspects will pass within a few hours. So just try not to get mired in the muck during this evening, this early afternoon to mid-afternoon feeling. And it's gonna hang out. It's gonna hang out. So just process it, right? Just let it go, because we don't have any more aspects later on the day. So we're just kind of hanging on to that energy. So just woosah. Okay. August 19th is Tuesday. Tuesday is Mars's day. Mars is in its detriment in Libra. You know, he's not having the best time at being in Libra. He's kind of incapable of just kind of going direct to action, right? He's a little bit more wishy-washy, taking in both sides, really trying to achieve like some sort of semblance of peace and harmony instead of just going out and doing the thing that he wants to do. And maybe even kind of in that way of like questioning, oh, what is it I want to do? Can you tell me what I want to do? Can you tell me what I want to do? Trying to weigh all opinions and all sides, right? There could be something like that. Moon is out of bounds again today. So big feelings, big tears, all sorts of things. I think that this day is in two parts. The morning, which doesn't feel awesome, and then the late morning into the afternoon, which feels a lot better. So, Moon in Cancer square Mars and Libra early in the morning while we're sleeping. I wake up with these aspects, like with the square, when the moon does like a square to like a planet of, aggression or passion or really anything, I tend to wake up in the middle of the night. So I would not be surprised to hear any sort of reports or reflections that you kind of were awake at 1:30 p.m. a.m. Pacific Standard Time. We get a quintile to retrograde Chiron, so I think that they're 3:34 a.m. So I think this brings like a sort of like empathy, self-soothing, also like a maybe like a deep awareness of like our wounds and how they're like impacting us. Something there. Semi-square from the moon to the sun. Something is emerging. It's really not quite there yet. We can't do anything with this data yet. That could feel a little bit like I'm trying to, but it's not, that kind of thing. 10:29 a.m. we do get the sun in Leo trine retrograde Chiron in Aries. This is, this flowing aspect of being able to kind of like heal and intuit how to heal one's wounds around identity and creativity and individuality, right? This feels like painting your pain and like letting it like drain out of your body and like just being creative in the ways that we want to work with our wounds, which could be really quite soothing, quite healing, quite nice. Then at 3:02 p.m. we get the moon conjunct Jupiter in Cancer. Moon Jupiter contacts. Remember, this is with Jupiter, it is the expansion of feelings. Whatever Jupiter touches, it expands for good or for not, right? Even though it is considered the greater benefic in the sky, and certainly has the capacity to be so. So this could bring a nice, flowing, happy, generous sort of spirit into us. But if we're having a bad, cranky day, if we've allowed these aspects earlier in the day to really take wind, and we have a moon out of bounds, so we're feeling real big feelings, and then we come up to Jupiter, and Jupiter says, all right, let's get real big here. This amplification, right? And I was thinking a little bit about the moon in Cancer being basically signifying what the people are in a mundane chart. Like the people want to be safe, right? And there could be a very loud call from people, from public, from culture, from the citizens to be or to have or to be provided the actual justice, comfort, the actual like real laws and real safety that our Saturn and Aries government is not providing us. And so there could be a call here, a call to justice, a call to action by the people. But we'll see. You know? Big feelings today, though, guys. Big feelings. And with that, I will see you tomorrow. Hey, thank you for listening to today's Astro Weather with me. I'm Sydney. As a reminder, I'm always open to seeing both new and my beloved returning clients. My website is ddastrology.com. That is D as in dog, D as in dog, astrology.com to check me out, and just click the email buttons in order to schedule with me. If you're into a more conversational feel with your podcast and content, I have a podcast called BS Astrology with my fellow Mercurial Mommy Bender, and we put out episodes every Sunday for the week. Just search BS Astrology on YouTube or wherever you enjoy listening to your podcast, including Spotify, Audible, and more. Have a good day.